I think they've taken a coffee break, so hopefully that'll continue throughout the webinar. So here we're showing 3 separate mobility studies that report road traffic in Ireland has reached or even surpassed pre-pandemic volumes. Both Locomizer and Apple, as you can see on the left, report mobility now being ahead of last year's baseline, while according to TomTom, congestion levels in the main cities are now at 2019 levels. So it looks like we're close to being there with roadside following the resumption of nationwide travel on the 10th of May. And Northern Ireland is ahead of the curve in this regard with the accelerated vaccine rollout and recent resumption of hospitality. And I think it was great to see GA League matches being played there with spectators last weekend. So just looking at other environments, supermarket visits are up by a fifth according to Google, having already been the most resilient of the environments during the pandemic. And the good news is the high street has also recovered in the last few weeks, following the reopening of all retail and personal services, with footfall on Grafton Street recovering to 80% of pre-COVID levels, according to TomTom. So I guess we're all hoping that these trends are linear and it really will be an outdoor summer with all the opportunity that affords.
Thanks a million, James. And Ilva, good morning. So you're going to take us through a few standout out-of-home campaigns for you from recent months.
Morning. Yep, I will indeed, Colm. So I think one of the first ones there that I absolutely love is on the far left is Vodafone's Curiosity campaign. Surprise, surprise, planned by Cara. So this campaign was kind of to support Vodafone's launch of unlimited data, and it was kind of built on the premise of curiosity and, you know, how Vodafone's unlimited data could add to users' lives being, you know, unlimited living. So what I really love about this one is the dynamic nature of this campaign. So it was set up to see what the nation were searching, what they were curious about in the previous 24 hours, and then it used this localized search data to refresh the creative every 24 hours. So I just think it's a really great example of like evolving with the consumer, or media tailing our consumers' curiosity, whether it be trending, i.e. baking banana bread, or whether it's fleeting, like a short, sharp burst of intrigue, such as, you know, how often is there a pink moon? So in this case, this campaign was all built out of, you know, fleeting curiosity. So I just think it was a really, really great idea of the use of data. And then if, you know, I think the bottom one there on the right is this conversation piece that Huskies did around mental health. And I think having worked on mental health campaigns and launched, you know, one of the mental health campaigns here in Ireland, I just love any brand who really aims to reduce the stigma around mental health. So this was really a fantastic sort of captivating campaign. It was completed and launched during the lockdown at a time when people, you know, were feeling sort of really isolated and mental health was under even greater strain and pressure. So the conversation piece brought together some of Ireland's leading artists to share their own experience of mental health and then to create digital artwork inspired by them. And, you know, they lit up some classic landmarks with their message of solidarity, including our iconic pool bag chimneys, which have stood together for the last 50 years, you know, so even surviving a planned demolition. And then on the top right there, Zalando. So I don't think we can come out of this pandemic and not talk about brands which, you know, really reacted and behaved really well in the pandemic. And I think with Zalando, what they really understood was the mood of the nation, and they aimed to connect with their audience. You know, the big standout for me on this campaign was the creative message, sort of celebrating human connection during these unprecedented times, and, you know, sort of really conveying a feeling of hope and optimism for the future. When will we be able to hug again? And actually, interesting enough, they focus on real people and real relationships, sort of moving away from, you know, that staged models and fashion, with just their single message of what a hug means to many people.
Excellent. Yeah, some really good work there. Thanks a million, Ilva. So Barbara, good morning. So you're going to give us a quick overview of Clear Channel's inventory in the Republic and Northern Ireland, and some details of another new roadside network about to launch in the Republic of Ireland.
Thanks, Colm. Yeah, good morning, everyone, on this beautiful morning. So Clear Channel's vision is to provide a platform for brands, but coupled with this is a platform for good, creating services and amenities for the community. Our portfolio creates a platform for brand, allowing for creativity, flexibility, and scale, building mass awareness and garnering trust. We offer multi-formatted touchpoints across the island of Ireland where advertisers can reach audiences. We have a network of highly visible, large format billboards and light boxes that target consumers nationally with large blank canvas, creating brand fame for brands. We've recently seen many banks using these to promote their mortgage offerings. Agile bus shelters are on our unmissable street level format, targeting suburban and commuter audiences, building frequency. We've seen a grocery price war played out on these over the last couple of months. Our retail formats target consumers at the point of purchase. We've recently seen longer dwell time as people continue to queue outside grocery stores. Clear Channel's classic ad box targets symbols and multiples, with ad box extra giving brands the added opportunity to stand out with clever 3D effect. Here's a lovely example from a recent campaign by Cadbury's Dairy Milk. Agile Live Mall digital screens are at some of Ireland's top shopping centres, putting brands front and centre in busy retail locations with a highly receptive audience in the mood to shop. Over the last 12 months, we've seen many health brands looking to target pharmacies in those malls. Our point-of-sale formats, ASDA, as well as the award-winning Tesco Live, are all ideal formats to influence shoppers in the mindset to purchase. In line with our Platform for Good mission, to have a positive impact on the community, we pioneered the bus shelter format in Ireland over 40 years ago, working with our partners. The most recent bus shelter innovation is our glider halls in Northern Ireland, which have a mix of digital screen and Agile classic panels. We are currently introducing a new development program in the South, which I'll take you through next. We have incorporated Platform for Good initiatives, decluttering the streets, replacing existing phone boxes, and replacing them with modern, multifunctional street kiosks. These will bring wayfinding, public information, and telephone services to the public. This is going to be a huge launch for us, and it's called Agile Live Roadside. And for the first time in the Republic of Ireland, we'll deliver a network of roadside digital screens outside of Dublin. This network will be in Dublin, Galway, Waterford, Wicklow, Portlaoise, Longford, and Tipperary. We've recently seen a growth in digital spend by brands, so now we'll be able to offer advertisers national reach and activation at scale, with increased flexibility and an unparalleled geographic footprint. Agile Live Roadside will deliver a strong vehicle and pedestrian audience, targeting key commuter routes as well as city and town main streets. We have seen how busy our local suburbs have become, getting clogged with traffic and footfall. Agile Live Roadside, with screens in the likes of Howth, Malahide, Bray and Swords, will give advertisers the opportunity to capture these suburban audiences along with its great city centre presence. Advertisers will be able to deliver campaigns that drive action, as well as deliver brand metrics using PlayIQ, our intelligent, flexible scheduling system to ad serve content. An Agile Live Roadside broadcast advertiser will receive over 900,000 plays across the network in a 2-week period. For more bespoke campaigns, using ad target tools, brands can also target locations where their target audience is. For example, coffee shops, gyms, and parks, to name a few. Agile Live Roadside is part of Clear Channel's wider digital transformation, investing heavily in a premium digital portfolio.
That's super. Thanks a million, Barbara. I think the format developments we've seen on these webinars in the last few weeks is really exciting for our sector, and I'm sure the brands that will embrace them also. So I think huge credit goes to the media owners for the continued investment in driving that change right across the island. Just to come back to you, Ilva, on that, and that kind of format, if you like, or that kind of platform with the civic amenity attached to the advertising is probably something we'll see more of in the future, I guess. And I guess it's something that the brands would be keen to be associated with.
Yeah, Colm, I think, every brand and medium, including out of home, kind of now find themselves in this unique position / obligation of, where they need to be at the heart of communities and, sort of playing a part in making the world a better place to live. I know we've seen recent outdoor companies investing in that infrastructure projects and making these positive contributions sort of to the overall aesthetic of a community. So I really think it's, it's a win-win solution for towns and cities. Agile Live roadside is obviously a great example of that, sort of decluttering the streets, replacing the existing phone boxes with sort of this modern multifunctional kiosk. And I think for brands kind of using that space, not only does it give them a digital canvas where they can display their message, but also, the knowledge that they're giving something back to the community, supporting the infrastructure. So I just think there's lots of positive for brands, investing in that outdoor, that they're supporting projects that are of benefit to the communities. So definitely, I can see that the future is going to have, lots more of this.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, listen, we move on. And approximately 25% of all out-of-home spend is in the crucial retail sector. Out-of-home represents a unique opportunity to communicate with consumers at the time and place of purchase. And Barbara is now going to share with us how data and technology is making this environment more agile and more effective for brands.
So Clear Channel has 2 retail formats. They've Asda Live in Northern Ireland and we've Tesco Live in the Republic of Ireland. These are ideal formats to influence shoppers in the mindset to purchase. Grocery retail has seen some big changes over the past 14 months. In 2019, we carried out a piece of shopper thoughts research, and we were looking at trying to gather some information on consumer trends and behavior. And then in March this year, we carried it out again, and we found some interesting differences. So gone are the days are just the one weekly shop. We found that 46% were shopping every 2 to 3 days. And this has great implications for frequency with which people see an Agile Live campaign. Many were experiencing queues, and there's also been an increase in off-peak shopping. And with many people helping cocooners out, we found that 4 out of every 10 had shopped for a vulnerable friend, relative, or neighbour. Recently, we've also seen an increase in impulse purchases, with 60% buying regularly on impulse. And not surprisingly, chocolate and crisps are top there. And the pandemic category winners have been, Ilva mentioned banana bread, baking products, liquid soap, and fresh fruit. Data has a huge role to play in understanding consumer behavior and plan accordingly. When we launched Tesco Live, research showed us that advertisers were increasingly looking for solutions to enable them to target consumers efficiently with tailored messaging. To deliver on this, we introduced Tesco Live Smart Select, a data insights and planning tool based on club card data and EPOS sales information. This arms advertisers with the data that they need to plan the most efficient and clever campaigns. Smart planning gives advertisers 3 options when planning a campaign. Firstly, advertisers could be provided with the number of Tesco Live screens that either over-index or under-index on sales of a specific product category. So for example, we have 45 screens that over-index in the chocolate sales category. Secondly, advertisers can target one of Tesco's 6 family groups. So these are young deal lovers, young urban spenders, core families, budgeting families, mature habitual spenders, and empty nest explorers. All of these have different shopping preferences and habits. A company like Kerry Foods, with many brands in their portfolio, can use the same media, Tesco Live, and target different audience groupings. So for example, Denny might target mature habitual spenders. Cheese Strings might target core families. Thirdly, advertisers can choose to advertise where there are peaks and troughs in their category, either trying to stimulate the category in an off-peak period or take advantage of a seasonal high. I mentioned in our Shopper Thoughts research the growth in impulse purchases. Advertisers and brands can also target the stores that over-index on impulse shoppers. We found that impulse purchasers are shopping 7 times over a 2-week period, every second day. And over the 30 Tesco stores that over-index in these shoppers, there are 680,000 impulse visits. Along with efficient planning, advertisers can also measure the campaign success with smart performance, the post-campaign analysis tool, showing brand growth versus control stores. So you can have a store that the brand stock is the same between the two stores, the category stock is the same, the store size is the same, and the performance of the store is the same. And the one difference is that on one, there is a Tesco Live advertising campaign, and the other there isn't. So it's a very pure measure of whether a campaign has been successful. Here's an example of one of Ilva's clients, Cadbury's Dark Milk, that we researched. And you can see there that the brand value uplift versus the control stores was 39%. The category versus control stores was pretty flat. It was only at 2%. And new customers were 51%. This obviously is a hugely important metric for brands. In conjunction with dunnhumby, we have conducted over 50 case studies across a wide range of categories and have seen an average brand sales uplift of 11% versus the control stores. New customers have seen a 32% uplift. Along with the Tesco Live's ability to build brands, these case studies prove to advertisers that their Tesco Live campaigns work in driving sales and delivering new customers.
That's brilliant. Thanks a million, Barbara. And just last week I referenced, before we go on to just talk a bit about that presentation, last week I referenced how data and mobile was influencing out-of-home plans and actions regarding out-of-home advertising. And I think that Smart Select product is a great example of the former. Just before we discuss some aspects of the presentation, I just want to share a slide here. Some research conducted by our colleagues in Posterscope in the UK. This shows that proximity out-of-home advertising drives impulse purchase, not just at the nearest store to where a poster is located, but also it has an impact on consumer purchase decisions when they're in other stores further away from the actual poster site, right across the duration of a campaign. So it was conducted using several FMCG clients, and the research analysed the impact of out-of-home advertising across 3 types of stores in 3 control regions. So there was the proximity store, i.e. the nearest store to the out-of-home panel, and that generated a 10.9% sales uplift. Strikingly similar to the Clear Channel 11% figure that Barbara has just shared with us there from this market. And the boundary stores, they were located in the same postal sector as the proximity store and the out-of-home panel, and that saw a sales uplift of just over 11% also. And the delayed stores, which were also located in the same postal district of the proximity store and panel, and that saw an increase of 8.7%. So we're seeing from multiple sources and multiple sources of evidence across different markets of the effectiveness of point of sale advertising. And James, if I can turn to you then, and that proximity piece from Posterscope reflects our own checkout research from early this year, and that also showed the effectiveness of a point of sale out-of-home advertising in influencing those purchase decisions. So important for brands to be active in that key decision-making last window of influence space, isn't it?
Absolutely, Colin. Yeah, so Checkout was a study we conducted in partnership with Ipsos and RBI, which looked at engagement with out-of-home advertising in retail environments. So we trended the data, and it found that in the most recent study, more than 1 in 3 respondents were more likely to notice advertising at the entrance to a supermarket and in store, while 1 in 4, a quarter, were more likely to take an action in response to such advertising. These findings really complement the Posterscope study. So brands who are activating promotion in store have the opportunity to communicate throughout the path to purchase and avail of multiple touch points throughout the cycle. And it really positions outdoor well, I guess, as the last window of influence. And Barbara alluded to the influence category of consumers, which frequency is very high in going to the supermarket. And I think also the data opportunities and planning opportunities provided by Smart Select, complemented by our own Locomizer affinity groups and census data and other sources, really gives accountability to the medium, both pre-campaign and also post-campaign, where we can look at sales uplift and also recall via our poster impact cyclical studies.
Good stuff. And Barbara, you're going to share just a few examples of some of the clever ways that brands are using Tesco Live format.
Yeah, so when we launched digital and Tesco, many advertisers were using digital kind of in a similar way in how they would have used classic. So it was kind of one creative, for 2 weeks. Now we see a much more creative use of digital. Brands are changing their creative depending on the time of day. Here's a lovely example from Gordon's Gin, where they had a daytime message, and then in the evening they changed it to a kind of a warmer evening message, or also by location. And this is a very good example by Bank of Ireland. On there, yeah. And what they did is they targeted all the different postcodes, and they looked at the average price of a house around those. So they changed, the creative was different depending on the different postcode. So seasonal campaigns and event targeting campaigns are also hugely popular. So we're seeing a lot of that as well. And also use of data, which I know James is going to talk about later, is becoming increasingly frequent. I suppose we're seeing as many copy variations in 6 months now than we probably would have seen over a 2-year period 5 years ago. So big changes.
And Ilva, we're seeing a bank there advertising there, and we all understand the importance of retail for FMCG and grocery brands. Do you think, though, it can be overlooked sometimes by other categories?
Yeah, I think that's a really kind of interesting concept, Colm, and that it is sort of a channel that's potentially underused for non-FMCG, because obviously when we're planning out a home, like we look at the format, we look at the audience, and then, retail formats like Tesco Live obviously deliver valuable audiences that can be segmented. I mean, Barbara took us through all those segmentations, but, why, when planning for a non-FMCG advertiser, can we not use that segmentation and target those stores that sort of over or under index in an audience? For example, with the bank, you might like a direct mortgage campaign with young urban spenders, or even the likes of Aer Lingus might want to target empty nesters with off-peak, seat sales. So I think it's just something, I think there's a niche there. And I think that, it's been overlooked, and it's just everyone's kind of thought FMCG when actually, there's this huge amount of work has been done from a segmentation point of view, and we really should be taking advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree. Okay, listen, we'll move on. Thanks a million, Barbara, for all that. So speed and agility have become an important currency in media. Out-of-home's ability to be flexible, to react, and to optimize message has improved exponentially since the introduction of digital out-of-home in this market a decade ago. So James is back to tell us more.
Thanks, Colm. Yeah, as you say, I'm going to focus on speed, agility, and use of data, particularly in relation to digital out of home. So just before I begin, I'm going to make this a little interactive, if you don't mind. Can I ask the attendees, although I can't see you there, but can I ask you to describe in one word, just one word, out of home's secret superpower? It'd be great if you could post these to chat, and we can review briefly at the end of the presentation. So just to repeat, describe in one word, out of home's secret superpower. I'll leave that with you. So the out-of-home landscape is constantly evolving, and the infrastructure of the channel has never been stronger. COVID has not stopped investment in the medium, as Barbara has shown earlier. Improvements in the standard of classic formats is well complemented by multiple networks of the highest quality digital screens. But the way in which outdoor ads are created and served through these screens is game-changing for our industry. The use of data in planning and in message has exploded, and this is facilitated by smart content management systems, such as our own live poster platform. It all means brands can be more strategic in the way they execute out of home. So we're now going to take a quick tour of the overall digital landscape. From a starting start about 10 years ago, digital out of home now accounts for around 30% of out of home revenue from nearly 3,000 screens on the island of Ireland. We expect this to continue with the trend towards digitization across society during the pandemic, together with the investment by media owners in new screens and networks. So we've divided the digital portfolio into 4 environments. Top left, you can see roadside. So digital billboards and bus shelters have been supplemented by the launches of Adshell Live roadside kiosks, which Barbara mentioned, along with the digital bridges, which have just launched here in Dublin. In transport, we're seeing a returning audience to hubs, including, for example, the Dark Line in the airport. Retail, as has been referred to, a resilient environment during the pandemic, particularly in supermarkets, convenience stores. But this sector also encompasses shopping centres, malls, pharmacies, service stations, off licenses, and so on. And then leisure. This will be a sector to keep an eye on in H2. With the reopening of society, we expect a returning audience to bars, cinemas, gyms, colleges, and sports stadia, including the Aviva managed by Clear Channel. So I'd like to speak to you about Live Poster, which supports automated ad serving in real time using a single source platform. It facilitates event-based impacts and enables digital innovation at scale. We at PML Group can connect to any data source. Basically, if we can access it, we can integrate it. Data triggers can be first or third party, include location, weather, countdown, and sports results. In this video, we'll see just some of the dynamic out-of-home campaigns we are involved with since the first one for the National Lottery's Millionaire Raffle that ran over Christmas 2017. So in the next few slides, I'm going to compare static and dynamic displays in terms of content and opportunity. So digital just doesn't have to be static. Just like online, we can use data to turn a dumb poster, dumb maybe in inverted commas, into one that automatically updates itself. We can use data to trigger posters, choosing the most relevant creative each time the poster loads, say the best product or most relevant service or offer for the time of day. And we can also use data to populate content within creative, updating content, localizing messages, basically choosing the most effective images to display to get the best results. So traditionally, it's just one layout signed off and repeated everywhere. But what happens if something changes? Say your competitor drops their price, introduces a new product, the weather takes a turn for the worse, something major happens in the news. Well, digital now gives you the opportunity to be much more reactive, either manually or automatically using data, so your campaign stays relevant. It's a shift from having just a picture and a few words. That is the power of the poster. Thinking is copy, you have to keep it as short as possible, as people don't have a lot of time to read it. But what if time changes? Say the trains slow down, get delayed, or you've booked media in multiple environments where frequency will be higher. With digital, you can optimize your copy length to take advantage of these changes, triggered optimized versions for longer dwell times, and a simpler version for shorter. In out-of-home, traditionally, we use one creative to appeal to the largest audience, but that assumes the audience stays the same and is the same. The reality is in out-of-home, the audience is changing all the time. Your creative that was relative in the morning may no longer engage in the afternoon with a different audience. So using digital, you can talk in the most engaging way to this shifting audience by shifting to the right creative. Dynamic out of home takes this further, letting you target a message on a much more granular level. localizing and personalizing creative and brands when it comes to out of home. It's switching from thinking that out of home is just a broadcast media that shouts to everyone, and does it very successfully, by the way, to one that can also talk to people on a more personal and relevant level. So to summarize, it's about telling the right story at the right time, not the same story all the time. So just going to talk to you about the main two offerings within the live poster platform. And these really form the basis of the service. You might like to think of them as the when and the what. Dynamic scheduling, the when, optimizes digital ad serving, be it linear ads or video or static ads. It uses data to ensure the campaign is the most relative creative playing on each screen within the media owner schedule. Dynamic content, on the other hand, differs from scheduling, and then each ad has the ability to have dynamic updating or change of elements within the actual poster itself. So now I'm going to touch on a pioneering research study called The Moments of Truth. It was commissioned by Clear Channel, JCDecaux and Postscope using a combination of 3 research techniques dubbed Research to Reality, and incorporated the most wide-ranging application of neuroscience and digital out-of-home ever undertaken to measure brain response, along with eye tracking to measure ad recall, and test and control sales lift uplift studies, which Barbara also uses to understand how dynamic out-of-home drives the sales response. So the research examines dynamic activation from 3 perspectives. 1, fundamentally, how does the brain respond to these stimuli? 2, does this translate into better noticeability and memorability? And 3, can we see a positive effect on business outcomes, in this case, sales? So if you're familiar with Orlando Wood from the System 1 group, you may have an understanding of the basis of neuromarketing research and application. For this particular study, a company called NeuroInsight measured the electrical activity in the brain and reported on various cognitive functions. Each area of the brain is responsible for different elements. For example, the front of the brain here looks at approach, which is a measure of positive emotion. In effect, people lean in and like what they see. Memory right is responsible for processing the overall feel of something, such as colors and more holistic aspects. It also gives an indication of familiarity, which in a study such as this on relevance is clearly important. So when reporting on the results, NeuroInsight looked at the peak level of brain response for each piece of content and compared this between test and control. So just in terms of the results, it was found that average brain response was stronger both in terms of relevant moments and relevant content. Relevant moments, an average of 12% in brain response when displaying a brand or product communication at the right time. Relevant content, an average increase of 18% in brain response when using content that either referred to the location, the weather, the time, or a live update such as a call out. The interesting thing is when combining the two, advertising when viewed at a relevant moment and with relevant content saw an average increase of 32% in brain response. This really shows a multiplier effect and a real opportunity to amplify your brand using dynamic out of home. The findings in terms of ad recall and ultimately sales activation are equally compelling. There is a larger deck and a white paper available on this study, and we'd be happy to provide it to you if on request. So I'm just going to go through a couple of case studies, a couple of campaigns we ran here in the Irish market. We teamed up with Cara and Cadbury to transform digital out-of-home screens into content live enhanced scoreboards to leverage Cadbury's Premier League sponsorship in Ireland. So our live poster platform was deployed to carry real-time football scores using Optastats on screen, along with pre-game content based around team and match stats. And these screens were largely in high footfall commuter and retail environments. So just on the next slide, I can just go through with you just some research we conducted to measure the impact of using dynamic versus non-dynamic creative. The methodology thus provided by Amara was 400 exit interviews in Dublin shopping centres. Basically, it found that dynamic out-of-home messaging was more noticeable, attractive and effective. And we were delighted when this campaign was recognised at the Irish Content Marketing Awards in the FMCG category. So last year, Just Eat embarked on a brand refresh and out of home, leveraging the partnership with Snoop. So I think brand launches are especially important for relatively intangible service brands such as this. Classic formats work together with Dynamic, both a strategic and tactical way. Dynamic provided a sense of time and a place to the campaign, and it reflected really innovative and energetic thinking and the tech attributes of the brand. The data used in this campaign was from the Dark Skies weather app, along with time of day and day of week. And all this contributed towards a solution involving 160 individual pieces of copy, delivered at the most relevant times, and a creative featuring a mix of all the dynamic call-outs and featuring the brand ambassador himself. So just moving on, out of home has a long history of powerful and famous creative work. It is an unblockable and unskippable medium. It delivers scale, can sell products and create brand fame in a frame. A medium that can quite literally stop people in their tracks. High definition digital screens and data-driven dynamic content now provide even more creative potential and activation than ever before. It's a one-to-many medium, continuing to deliver for advertisers through the use of iconic sites and enable big brand messaging at scale. It's the most confident, public and reductive expression of a brand. So the following are some of my own favorite examples of brave advertising from around the world. So Ilva spoke very well previously on Zalando tapping into the mood of the nation. And I think this campaign sort of reflects that too. Paddy Power is known for taking risks. This campaign was turned around, as Barbara knows, extremely quickly at the outset of the pandemic, when there were queues at shops, bulk buying, and a certain degree of panic, I guess. So it was very important for the client and agencies involved that the tone was right. I think the message is good-natured yet informative and consistent with the brand persona. It's a really nice example as well of a show don't tell approach working together with witty copy. So just another pandemic related ad. I'm not sure if anybody can read that tagline. I'm guessing probably not. PlusNet, a UK company, celebrated the back of a difficult year with a billboard designed to be viewed from behind. The ad gave those hitting the road on New Year's Eve something to smile about as they motored away from 2020 into a more hopeful, or at least we like to think so, 2021. So really the smiles in the mind, or in this case, the wing mirror. So this example from Canada, we've dubbed night part advertising. It encompasses personalization at scale using application of nudge theory. So to remind people to wash their face before bed, Biore, a skincare brand, created digital billboards that call people out by name and face directly into their apartment window. And this only ran in evening and nighttime. Each used census data to display the most common names for the apartment complexes they were facing. If I can just quote, there's a nice quote from the creative director in this campaign who said, "The problem is universal, but we knew the solution needed to be personal since we're infiltrating people's nighttime routine. That's why we chose to use a mass media channel in a direct way, creating a billboard that feels like a text from a friend who knows you a little too well." This example from Brazil was for a direct-to-consumer food solutions company, LiveUp. Basically, the highest temperature that day equaled the discount on offer to those who made an order. So really, it created the weather became an event street side on billboards and digital screens. So a really nice way of sort of tapping in and equating a feel-good factor with the brand. Just a final example here is IKEA, who in London asked shoppers to travel to its most sustainable store in Greenwich in the most sustainable way, which is on foot. The ads displayed exact footsteps and public transport directions. And in the era of Fitbit, this I think is a nice example of talking to the target audience in their language. So out of home, it really is a truly powerful advertising platform, and I think we've shown how it delivers sophisticated mass marketing for brands. And I hope I've shown today in some way how out of home is the infinite creative canvas.
Thanks, James. Do you want me to refer back to the chat there and see?
Sure, yeah.
Who's responded?
Yeah, so if you remember, I asked you to describe in one word, just one word, out of home's secret superpower. Well, this video is the closing from the recent Obie Awards, sometimes described as the Oscars of outdoor. Oh.
Thank you so much for tuning into the 2021 Obie Awards. We've been thrilled to have you. But before we close out, we've had some fun here. We've asked our judges a simple question. Describe in one word, out-of-home media's secret superpower.
Timeliness.
Broadcast.
It's real.
Scale.
Audience.
Purpose. Humanity.
Thanks. So yeah, they were the nuggets given by the judges at the Obies, who interestingly all came from a creative standpoint and background. Colm, as you say, I wonder, has anything come through there?
Yeah. So plenty of response. Thanks a million, everyone. Words like stature, visual, fame, ubiquity, flexibility, scale, impact, unblockable, impact. Proximity, targeting, omnipresent, scale, persuasive, universal, captive, flexible, chameleon, interesting one, always on, engaging. So quite a few there. Along similar lines, really, I guess, to what the judges came back with on the Obies.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate those. We may use one or more in our marketing comms forthcoming. So thanks for doing the spade work.
Yeah. If I'd known it could be summed up in one word, I would have saved a lot of work the last 3 weeks. So look, thanks a million, James. There's a huge amount to unpack there, and I suppose digital out of home has certainly fundamentally changed the out of home proposition for brands. I guess so. Ultimately, the ability to mix classic and digital to give brands that sophisticated mass marketing opportunity is where out of home really can win. You, James?
Sorry there, just unmute myself. Yeah, we see clients strategically using classic formats which which deliver on the fundamental aspects of the medium, such as impact, coverage, awareness. And then we have the flexibility and content offered by digital. Just from a sort of strategic planning point of view, broad reach with consistent messaging, we know delivers long-term growth. And sophisticated mass marketing, as advocated by Byron Sharp and others, enables penetration in order to maximize reach and mental availability while not limiting the benefits of scale. Also, balancing long and short-term marketing is a challenge for, as we know, most marketers and clients. The 60-40 split, as advocated by Bidit and Field, emphasizes sort of brand strategies driving long-term success, in which out of home can be a central component.
Yeah, and Barbara, digital obviously we've seen is making the medium much more flexible for advertisers now. And in a practical sense, you touched on there in your earlier presentation, the ability for big advertisers to advertise across their portfolio. And that's an example of it in a practical sense, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously digital is primed to drive action, and we've seen brands operate a kind of portfolio approach to how they buy their digital. So they're using the flexibility of digital to ad serve different brands at different times of the day or different days of the week. So we've seen them creating content also for different environments so that they're maximizing their portfolio in store and efficiently buying their media.
Good stuff. And Ilva, James mentioned the content marketing award that Cara and PML Mondelez shared for their work on Cadbury's Premier League last year, using those OptaStats. Huge opportunity for brands here to avail of digital out of home, especially to play in that kind of content marketing space now, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think if the pandemic kind of taught us anything, Colin, like one of the big things is that that beautiful word of, you know, pivot. And I think, you know, if you think about consumers now, that, you know, they're looking for entertaining, meaningful, engaging connections with brands. So I think the ability of brands to be reactive in this space is just going to become more and more prominent, you know. I think consumers really want to know, where is the ball going to land as opposed to where is it landed. So obviously there's huge opportunities for brands to kind of position themselves as pioneering, engaging with their audience, just like having that full 360 effect, you know, where it creates talkability, it's shared, it's searched, and then, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I think one of the, going back to sort of, you know, James's neuroperformance point, you know, video is the future of content marketing. You know, we know that consumers prefer and more likely to share video content, and that, you know, it's obviously much easier to remember. So, you know, and it'll actually help improve your SEO performance and all that sort of stuff. I think one of the biggest barriers that, you know, I've certainly come across when working with brands in that reactive space is the sign off. And, you know, there's this red tape and these barriers to sign off. So it's like, how do we overcome that? You know, how do we overcome that, you know, having to go through so many different people to get it signed off when we just want to be reactive, we just want it to happen now. So it's probably, you know, more of that, you know, future planning and planning for every scenario and having pre-signed off pieces as well. So, you know, I think that's just one of the barriers, especially for, you know, global brands who have so many, you know, legal things that they have to, loopholes that they have to, you know, circumnavigate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely points to consider. Thanks a million, Ilva. So guys, this is our final section, our 1 for 21. And this is the section we end each session with, looking at an opportunity for out-of-home advertisers that perhaps will be somewhat unique to the current year. And previous weeks, we looked at domestic tourism. Last week, we looked at leveraging that sense of optimism and joy that out-of-home advertising can leverage in the coming months. So today, we're looking at event-based advertising. I think it's probably fair to say that this year, more than ever before, families and friends will make every effort to mark personal occasions such as birthdays and anniversaries in a meaningful way. And Barbara, if I can just ask you to be brief here, but definitely an opportunity for brands to tap into those personal moments now again through out of home.
Yeah, we know people are planning on entertaining at home more this summer, and digital out of home and point of sale formats like Tesco and Asda give brands the perfect format to take advantage of this. So what they will be able to do is, what we're encouraging them to do is find a moment that matters, attach themselves to that moment and make themselves relevant in the moment. So for example, you know, bank holiday weekends, bout of hot weather like we're having at the moment, the end of the school year. So to target those moments and really make them matter using out of home.
Yeah, and Ilva, it's not really a new concept at all. A client of yours, Biersdorf, actively advertised around Mother's Day, Cadbury around Valentine's Day, of course, things like that. But definitely something for more brands and planners to consider and take advantage of digital out of home's flexibility in that regard.
Yeah, you know, I suppose, you know, undoubtedly there's always going to be a sales volume sort of rise from, you know, occasions such as Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. I think these sort of occasion driven purchases are, you know, they're temporal as well as emotional. So, you know, they're part of a specific shopping mission. And I think, you know, on these occasions, which are celebrated by many shoppers, the challenge is to highlight, you know, one's own over competing products. So as shoppers are confronted with so many things in store. So we know obviously that impulse purchasing is closely linked to point of sale marketing stimuli, but we also know that people relate differently to creative. So like here is where you can use the likes of digital out of home, you know, gives you the opportunity to speak to loads of different emotional triggers and, you know, have several pieces of creative on the go on rotation, so to sort of drive that path to purchase. So I think there's huge opportunities there.
Excellent. And James, just to final point from you, and Barbara spoke about personal moments there, but there's a wider scale we can look at as well here. Events such as the GEA Championship, for instance, the Olympic Games, concerts, they're not going to be attended in the same numbers they normally would be this summer, but there's an opportunity afforded by out of home for advertisers and sponsors to bring these events into the communities via content and via creative thinking. And the opportunities are endless really in this regard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of during it's been even described as a government as the outdoor summer. So I think there's real opportunities for brands to amplify sponsorship opportunities and associations through, for example, live scores and countdowns. So be the event be abroad, if the Tokyo Olympics, if it happens, or at home, such as the GA Championships and the Dublin Marathon. There's opportunities to tie in both with the results, but also to build association with the participants. In terms of individuals and teams. Mapping at a local level allows sort of proximity targeting, can generate civic pride and personalization at scale, and really allows brands to pivot, a term Ilva referred to, which I think ties in really nicely here. When I think of pivot, I keep thinking of Ross from Friends, so I'm feeling older by the minute, shall we say, with my references.
Well, you don't know what you've been watching last week.
Did you watch the reunion, James?
I'm booked in for the plastic surgeon after this. Yeah.
All right. Listen, Barbara. Very final thought. A lot in this session on data, dynamic, the opportunities that presents for brands. I guess what we'd like to see that is converted into more action, I guess, from advertisers. And do you think that's what we'll see now in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think now more than ever is a great time for out of home, where people expected to be out more, entertaining more, holidaying in Ireland. It provides a great opportunity for brands to be constantly present wherever people go. With the investment in digital out of home and its expanding footprint, brands not only have the opportunity to deliver the message to a broadcast audience, but also to cleverly tailor this message, making it contextually relevant and deliver objectives.
Cool, that's an excellent note to end on. So that's it for this week and for this season of Now Near Next Live. I'm sure we'll do it again soon. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who tuned in over the 3 weeks, to Ilva, to Barbara, to James, and to all our contributors over the past 3 weeks as well. To John McGee and all in AdWorld for their continued support of Now Near Next. The regular Now Near Next updates will continue each Friday through all the regular channels. And finally, huge thanks to the team, PML Group, who put all these sessions together. I really hope you found them informative and helpful in framing your out-of-home ideas and plans in the now, the near, and the next. Have a great bank holiday weekend and summer outdoors, and see you soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.